Welcome to another deep dive. Today we are going to be, we're going to dissect some incredibly successful marketing campaigns, and
Yeah.
I think you're going to find some of these insights really surprising.
Yeah.
We've got a collection of case studies that on the surface seem very different, but when you look closer, you see that they all leverage powerful psychological principles to achieve amazing results.
Yeah. That's exactly right. It's fascinating how these campaigns go beyond just selling a product. They tack into deep-seated human needs and desires, forging emotional connections that translate into brand loyalty and ultimately, of course, sales.
Okay, so let's jump right into our first case study.
Okay.
We're headed to Melbourne, Australia, where metro trains faced a challenge familiar to anyone trying to promote safety.
Right.
How do you make it engaging?
Yeah.
I mean, safety messages are important, but they can be, let's face it, a little dry.
Absolutely. And this is where Metro Trains really knocked it out of the park with their campaign, Dumb Ways to Die. They took something that could have been a predictable public service announcement and turned it into a darkly humorous, ridiculously catchy song.
Right, you've got these adorable animated characters dying in all sorts of absurd ways, some train-related, some not, and who could forget those cute little beans getting eaten by a grizzly bear because they weren't paying attention?
Right.
So how did this approach actually work from a psychological perspective?
Well, on the surface, it seems counterintuitive, right? You're associating your brand with death, even if it's presented in a lighthearted way. But by using humor, Metro Trains cleverly disarm viewers, making the safety message less preachy and more palatable humor, lowers our defenses, making us more receptive to the underlying message.
And it's not just that we're more open to the message, but we're also more likely to remember it, right? That catchy tune gets stuck in your head and suddenly you're humming a safety message without even realizing it.
Exactly. It's a brilliant example of how a seemingly simple creative choice can have a profound impact on the effectiveness of a message.
And the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
The campaign went viral, racking up over 127 million views on YouTube. And even more importantly, metro trains saw a 30% reduction in train-related accidents.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful testament to the impact of humor, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It really highlights how powerful it can be to combine humor with a clear call to action. It makes the message stick, and in this case, it potentially save lives.
Okay, so our next case study takes us from the realm of dark humor to the world of wish fulfillment. We're talking about the IKEA sleepover experiment, a campaign that I think tapped into a universal desire. I mean, who hasn't wandered through an IKEA and imagined spending the night surrounded by all that perfectly staged furniture?
Right. And IKEA Australia brilliantly capitalized on that fantasy by letting customers do just that, spend the night in their store. They turned the whole experience into a giant sleepover party, complete with pillow forts and midnight snacks.
So, what was the psychological hook here? Was it just the novelty of the experience, or was there something deeper at play?
I think it was a combination of factors. Obviously, the novelty and the you can't do this anywhere else aspect played a huge role, but they also tapped into a deeper human need, the need for belonging and connection by creating the shared experience. IKEA transformed their store from a place of commerce into a community hub, a place where people could connect and make memories together.
And of course, the social media buzz was off the charts. Photos of people building pillow forts and having midnight snacks flooded Instagram and Facebook, turning the campaign into a viral sensation.
Exactly. And all of that buzz came organically. People weren't just buying furniture, they were buying into an experience, a story they could share with others. And that's something money can't buy.
Okay, so for our next deep dive, we're switching gears completely and exploring a brand that's built its entire reputation on scarcity and hype. I'm talking, of course, about Supreme, the streetwear brand that's become a cultural phenomenon.
Supreme's strategy is fascinating because it completely flips the traditional marketing script. Instead of trying to reach as many people as possible, they intentionally limit their supply, creating a sense of exclusivity and urgency that drives demand through the roof.
Right. They have these limited edition drops
Yeah.
every Thursday, and if you're not online and ready to click the moment the new items become available, you're probably going to miss out.
And that's exactly the point by creating this artificial scarcity. Supreme triggers a powerful psychological response. The fear of missing out, or FOMO as it's commonly known, when people believe something is rare or hard to get, they perceive it as more valuable even if the objective quality of the product is no different.
And it's not just about the product itself, right? It's about the social status that comes with owning a piece of Supreme. It's like a badge of honor, a signal that you're in the know, that you're part of this exclusive club.
Exactly. They've managed to cultivate this image of coolness and exclusivity, which then feeds back into the cycle of hype and demand. It's a brilliant self-perpetuating system that's made them one of the most sought-after brands in the world.
And the crazy thing is, they do all of this with minimal traditional advertising. Their marketing is almost entirely driven by word-of-mouth social media buzz, and of course those carefully orchestrated drops.
It's a masterclass in how to create a brand that feels aspirational and exclusive, not through flashy ad campaigns, but by understanding and leveraging the psychology of desire and scarcity.
Okay, so we've talked about humor exclusivity, and now let's look at a brand that built its success on something completely different, a deep sense of purpose and social impact. I'm talking about Tom S. Shoes and their famous one-for-one model.
Thomas is a great example of how brands can tap into the growing trend of conscious consumerism, the desire to align our purchasing decisions with our values.
Right, so for every pair of Thomas S. Shoes you buy, they donate a pair to a child in need. It's a simple concept, but it really resonated with people who wanted to feel like their purchases were making a difference in the world.
And that's a key point Thomas understood, that people don't just buy products. They buy into stories and emotions by weaving a narrative of social good into their brand. They gave people a reason to feel good about their purchase, a sense that they were part of something bigger than themselves.
And it worked. Tom S. sold millions of shoes, expanded their initiatives to include eyewear and coffee, and built a fiercely loyal customer base that believed in their mission. So what can we learn from Thomas' success? Is it really as simple as aligning your brand with a good cause? I think there's definitely more to it than just slapping a social cause onto your product.
Yeah.
Thomas' success, I believe, stemmed from the authenticity of their mission. It wasn't just a marketing ploy. It was baked into the very fabric of their business model.
You're absolutely right. Consumers are savvy. They can spot a disingenuous marketing tactic a mile away. Thomas' one-for-one model felt genuine. It resonated with people because it was a core part of their brand identity, not just a superficial add-on.
So we've explored these four very different case studies, and they've all achieved remarkable success by tapping into different aspects of human psychology. If we zoom out and look at them as a whole, what are some of the key takeaways for you? What can we learn from these campaigns about creating impactful marketing?
Well, I think one of the most striking takeaways is the power of storytelling. Each of these campaigns crafted a compelling narrative that went beyond the product itself. Metro Trains didn't just tell people to be safe, they created a darkly humorous and memorable song that got stuck in your head. IKEA transformed a furniture store into a magical sleepover experience, appealing to a sense of childlike wonder and community. Supreme cultivated an aura of exclusivity and hype, making their products feel like coveted trophies, and Thomas tapped into the desire to make a difference, turning a simple purchase into a meaningful act.
That's a great point. They each created a story that people wanted to be a part of, a story that evoked emotions and made their brand memorable. It's not just about what you're selling, it's about the world you're inviting people into.
Precisely. And another crucial element that these campaigns all share is authenticity. People can sniff out a marketing ploy a mile away. These brands felt real. They had a clear purpose, and they weren't afraid to show their personality, even if it was a little quirky or unexpected.
Right. Metro Trains embraced the absurdity of their message. IKEA was genuinely playful, and inviting Supreme was confidently cool and exclusive, and Tom and S was earnestly committed to their social mission. That genuine connection with their brand identity shines through.
Absolutely. And I think that authenticity is crucial in today's marketing landscape. People are bombarded with messages from all directions, and they're increasingly skeptical of anything that feels forced or inauthentic. Brands that can cut through the noise are the ones that stay true to themselves and connect with their audience on a human level.
Okay, so we've talked about storytelling and authenticity. What else can we learn from these successful campaigns? If we were to distill it down to a few key ingredients for impactful marketing, what would you say they are?
Well, based on these case studies, I'd say a strong narrative that resonates emotionally, a deep understanding of your target audience, and what makes them tick, a dash of creativity and willingness to experiment, and of course, a healthy dose of authenticity.
It sounds like a recipe for success.
Yes.
But imagine it's not always easy to find that perfect balance, is it?
You're absolutely right. It takes careful planning, constant adaptation, and a willingness to learn and evolve. But by studying these examples and understanding the principles behind their success, we can certainly increase our chances of creating campaigns that resonate with people and make a lasting impact.
Speaking of lasting impact, something that's really fascinating to me is how these campaigns resonated far beyond their initial target audience.
Yeah.
They became cultural touchpoints, sparking conversations, inspiring creativity, and even prompting changes in behavior. Why do you think that is what gives a marketing campaign that kind of staying power?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
I think it goes back to the idea of tapping into something universal, something that transcends specific demographics or product categories. These campaigns touched on fundamental human needs and desires: the need for connection, the desire for meaning, the longing for something special or unique. They created an emotional resonance that went beyond simply selling a product or service.
It's like they weren't just marketing a product, they were marketing an idea, a feeling, a way of seeing the world.
Exactly, and that's what makes them so powerful. When you can tap into that kind of shared human experience, you create something that can really stick with people long after they've encountered your campaign.
It's not just about getting people to buy your product today, it's about planting a seed that could grow into a lasting relationship with your brand.
Precisely. It's about creating an experience that resonates, inspires, and stays with people long after the initial interaction. It's about making a connection that goes beyond the transactional and taps into something deeper, something more meaningful.
And I think that's where the real magic of marketing lies. It's not just about selling things, it's about connecting with people on a human level and creating experiences that matter.
Absolutely. And I think these case studies offer a powerful reminder that when you get that right, when you truly connect with your audience, the results can be truly remarkable.
So we've talked a lot about the psychology behind these successful campaigns, about the strategies they employed and the emotions they evoked. But I want to shift gears for a moment and focus on you, the listener, as we've been dissecting these case studies. What stood out to you? What's resonated with you the most?
Yes, what's sparking your curiosity? What's making you think differently about the marketing you encounter every day?
Because ultimately, we're all consumers, and we're all subject to the influences of marketing, whether we're aware of it or not. So it's important to be aware of those influences, to understand how they work, and to make conscious choices about the brands we support and the messages we let into our lives.
Absolutely. And I think developing that awareness is the first step toward becoming a more informed and empowered consumer. It's about understanding the psychology behind the marketing messages we encounter, and it's about making choices that align with our values and priorities.
So I'd love for you to take a moment and think about a marketing campaign that's really resonated with you personally. It could be a funny commercial, a thought-provoking social media post, or even just a well-designed product package.
Yeah.
What is it about that campaign that grabbed your attention? What made it stand out from the crowd?
What emotions did it evoke in you? Did it make you laugh, think, or feel inspired? Did it change your perception of a brand or a product?
Because when we start to pay attention to the marketing messages that affect us, we can start to understand the power they have, and we can make more informed choices about the brands we support and the messages we allow into our lives.
And that's a powerful thing because ultimately we're all shaping the landscape of marketing with our choices. And by becoming more conscious consumers, we can help to create a world where marketing is used not just to sell us things, but to connect with us, inspire us, and make a positive impact on the world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but before we wrap things up, I want to pose a final thought-provoking question for you to ponder. We've seen how these campaigns used humor, exclusivity, social impact, and experiential marketing to connect with people and achieve remarkable success. But what about other emotions? What other human desires or needs could marketers tap into to create impactful and memorable campaigns?
It's a fascinating question to consider. We've seen how powerful it can be to appeal to our desire for connection, our longing for belonging, our need for meaning and purpose. But there's a whole spectrum of human emotions and motivations out there that marketers are only just beginning to explore.
So think about it. What other untapped emotions or desires could be leveraged to create truly resonant and impactful marketing experiences? What are the needs and longings that drive us? And how can marketers tap into those needs in a way that feels authentic, meaningful, and ultimately beneficial to both the consumer and the brand?
Mm,
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but it's certainly given us all a lot to think about.
it really has.
Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to exploring more fascinating topics with you next time.